Tacita.
And together we are T&M Studio. If you don't know what is T&M Studio, please check out our Instagram. It's in the description down below.
We're trying to make edits weekly.
Okay, for this video we will make the 1-layer challenge. We will do it separately, so there will be 2 edits in the video.
Don't forget we have a Discord server for the channel community. Link in the pinned comment.
Let's start! Okay, I started deleting the background and normally I add a layer and then I can erase the background. I don't know why, I just always do that and I feel so weird not doing it. And I totally spent so many time in deleting the background because when you select it, always select a place that you didn't want it to delete. Anyways, then I started painting the eyeliner and eyelashes. I used white color with a brush like an eraser because if I erase it will delete the character and I don't want that. I'm obsessed with adding layers but now I can't, so I'm feeling uncomfortable. Then I'm shading the skin. I don't know why, but at the start of the date I wasn't using the selection tool and Tacita was saying, why are you not using the selection tool? And I say like, I don't know, I just forget to do it. Sometimes I like to shade without selection, but this time I just didn't realize that I wasn't using it. And I tried to blur just a bit, being very careful because I didn't want it to destroy it. And it was a bit hard because every time I was trying to blur it were like the match and I was saying like no, and it made the news, but I always use add blending mode to do it. I tried to make it look like it was made with blending modes. Anyways, to finish shading the skin, I added some blush to make it like more cute and you know, a bit aesthetic and that, whatever. Let's continue. I remade a bit the outline in the face because I don't know why the ears in another outline color. At shading the eyes, I really need the blending modes. I love blending modes, but I tried my best without them. As I said before, I forgot to use selection tool, so I was messing a bit with it, but I fixed redoing the outline from the irises. I never blurred this eye shading, but I always use multiply for it, and now I can't, so I thought blurring was a good idea. And I remade the pupils because I messed up with them for the highlights. I always use the blending mode at. Who doesn't? I tried to make them with white and all the opacity from the brush. I always remade the little shadow that comes with gacha eyes because of the quality. Then I did the lips, which were a bit hard because I always use a lot of blur and blending modes on them. But anyways, I think they ended looking really good and aesthetic. Then I started with the hair. In the spirit it doesn't show, but first I tried to fill out with the bucket and not selection tool. Then I remember about the selection tool because I was destroying the hair a lot. So I filled with a base color, then I select the hair outline and change the color of it. And I started shading the hair. For the hair shading, I like to use the force fade and stabilizer to make sure it looks perfect. For the hair highlights, I was so afraid because I always made them with blending modes, but I think they look actually pretty good. I try to pay a lot of attention to the color that matched the best for the highlights, and it looks like it were made with blending modes. Then I made the eyebrows. For the eyebrows, I used a brush that I think it's called round brush curve or something like that, lol. And I picked the same color as the hair outline, but I make it a bit darker. Then I started shading the sweater. I had a bit of problem with it because I always make all the shadings with blending modes. I never have the problem to pick which color match with the clothes because the multiply blending mode make that for me, but I think it ended pretty good. For the skirt and bow, I tried to make a rainbow effect, but it didn't work on the bow, and I love how the bow was looking, so I decided to make the same with the skirt and transform the rainbow into a holographic skirt and bow. Then I changed the outline of both of them to make it match. Then I shaded the shoes and inside of the bow, and with the special tool I made her more skinny and add the chest to make it look a bit more like the preppy girl idea. The background was my biggest problem because I always make a layer down the actual character layer and put the background. Now I needed to select the back of the character to make the background. I tried to put one of the Ibis Paint gallery backgrounds, but when I added the background, the app added in another layer, and I said like, no! So I removed the layer and the background too, so I created my own background. After the result that I got, I looked at it for a few hours and I decided it was too flat. So I tried to make something a bit more colorful, bright, and more deep. Finally, I forgot to finish the eyeliner, so I made the last part of it, and for the match with background effect that I always make with adding another layer and clipping, I selected the character and then paint it with a low opacity brush, and I tried to add the T&M Studio brand, but it looks weird, so I decided to delete it. I don't know how to type without the type tool. And that is my one layer challenge I did. I think it looks pretty good, and I made earrings that I think looks really pretty. If you would like me to make something like remaking this OC but with layers and that, please tell me in the comments down below. Let's go with Tacita.
Hey! Oh god, this sure was challenging. I started deleting the background and filling in the base color for the hair. Then I moved on to the lashes and liner. I tried to shade the hair next, but after a while, I kinda gave up and started all over again. This wasn't turning out how I wanted. The second time I took a different approach. I wanted to make it more like a painting. Again. Anyways, at the start I was like, no, my precious blending modes, where are they? It was so hard, but then I found out you can make brushes with a certain blending mode. In that moment, I just felt so dumb.
Same lol.
I don't know, like, oh my god, all the suffering we both went through, and it was this easy. God, I'm so dramatic. Oh my gosh. What's with this wind anyway? Whatever. I literally blurred every single thing out. So I had to do a bit of liner in certain areas, so it wouldn't be as messy as my room. The skin shading was actually really nice to make, and I feel like it turned out so cute for some reason. I don't know. I made the hair like the wind was blowing, like in every dramatic scene on TV.
Like Isabella from Encanto in Every Mornings.
I also added lots of extra strands because it looks so much better, especially when there is wind blowing. I had no idea we had to make a background, and when Melanie told me, I kind of freaked out because it would be super difficult to select it with all the hair strands. Thankfully, I remembered that you can select the opacity of the layer and then invert it. That was truly a lifesaver for this kind of challenge. I don't know what I would have done without it. Jeez, just imagine trying to select the background and then just noticing how the strands aren't 100% opaque. I'd probably just give up. Anyways, speaking about lifesavers, if you're doing this challenge, I very strongly recommend using Alpha Lock Selection.
Yes, I know.
Brushes with blending modes and gradients. I mostly use the soft pastel brush because it's like the pen fade, but it also has this subtle texture that isn't noticeable at all in the final product this time, but I just like how it feels to use it, especially when I'm not aiming for a super clean look. I wanted it to look like a sunset on a beach or something, but it was hard to put much detail in just one layer. To make the colors match with the background, I applied the gradient with Alpha Lock and set it to multiply. Then I made the colors of the gradient that I picked lighter since I can lower the opacity. God, why can't I lower the opacity? Also, I shaded using warm colors, orange and yellow for highlights, and red and burgundy for the shadows. Well, after all this, I just used the star-shaped brush to add sparkles everywhere since I can't use the images from my paint. I also added some soft touches with an airbrush using a variety of colors. And that's it.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on notifications. See ya in the next video. Bye!